Yes.
What's your intention?
I just need a little time to pay what I owe. I'm never not paid anyone.
Mr. Martini, I'll give you 4 weeks. If you can pay half of what you owe, then I'll consider giving you more time.
Your Honor, this man's unemployed.
You've said that, counselor. Mr. Martini, do you have a job?
Yes, I'm a landlord.
Well, I suggest you get to work, honey.
G'day YouTube, Instagram. It's the second book review of the book series of reviews I said I would do. I've done some in between, but this is going to be the second book in the series of sort of financial help books that I'm going to do reviews on and tell you to read in this very specific order. So the first one I told you to read was this book here, was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now that applies to anyone. Everyone should read that book. That should be your basis for all your money decisions, estate planning, asset protection, debt collections, strategic debt defaults, corporate structures, anything like that. This should be your basis for all of your finances going forward. Now, don't not read this book. The book I'm about to show you is, in my opinion, a better book. It is a more fun book to read. It will go over the principles and concepts that were in the first book, but it will go into more detail, and it's a much more fun book to read. Now, it's the same author. It's Robert Kiyosaki. Now, those that know me probably already know that the book I'm going to say, because I've recommended it to so many people. And for me, having run a small business for the majority of my life, Rich Dad, Poor Dad sort of, as I said, did the defrag of my brain and what I thought I knew about money and finance. And it was this second book where the penny really dropped, so to speak. So the second book for me was like the first book on steroids, but I still needed that initial bit of knowledge. And again, everyone's different. That bit of knowledge I got is going to be different to the knowledge you're going to get. Don't not read that first book. Read the first book. But the second book I'm going to tell you to read, and this book was written in, I'll see if I can see a date on this, 2009, okay, so just after the financial crisis. But the lessons in this book are, sorry, my desk is a complete fucking mess. The lessons in this book are timeless. They will serve you for the rest of your life, your grandkids, your great-grandkids. The lessons in this book, I can't put enough emphasis on. I don't know another book that's been written better than this about finance and money, and I've read hundreds of them. Like literally, I've read stacks of books on finance and money that stand taller than me, and I tell people that, and like I put my little bits of advice here and there. I see people doing things about money, and I go, "Have you thought about doing it this way or whatever?" But I say that from a basis of a lot of learning. Some of it, some of it fairly high level, very high level. Up to and including an EMBA, which is Executive Masters of Business Administration. So you MBA guys, as I've said, if you want to try me on, go to town, and I will take you to town at an EMBA level. So just keep that in mind. I'm trying to keep this simple for most people, but if you want to come along in the comment section, you want to complicate the shit out of something, I will probably take you to town. Quite simply, it won't be a hard thing for me to do. But so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give this to you, to normal people, give you the simplest method. The simplest things are often the best. The simplest ideas often end up being the best. So the book I'm going to talk about is the same author, so Robert Kiyosaki, and it is Conspiracy of the Rich. Now, it is basically what I see as part 2 of this book. Okay, so I have read every book this guy has written. If you just read all those this guy's books, you would be better than 90% of senior credit managers at, Commonwealth Bank or at NAB or area managers. I don't even care what your degree is. Unless you've read these books and I've had higher education, university level, in finance, mortgage broking, that sort of thing. I know the stuff you know. It is not covered in this book, okay? So, it is, but it's not covered in a way that is actually useful to you in all works of life. Most of those degrees are set up to work for a CEO, or at best become a CEO. This sort of stuff, more EMBA stuff, you're on a board, you're making decisions for the CEOs, you're hiring and firing CEOs, that sort of thing. So the Conspiracy of the Rich is the second book on finance, personal finance, I'm going to tell you to read. Now, I'm just going to go through the contents, and I'm just going to briefly touch on some of the stuff. Again, I'm going to try to not give away the contents of the book. So if I'm a bit dismissive of a few of these things, it's because I don't want to spoil what you could potentially learn. I don't want to see you skip over a part that will see you being potentially one of the most important things you're going to do in your life, financially speaking. So I'll read you the chapter names. So this is back when Obama was in. Can Obama save the world? Well, no. The conspiracy against their education. Now, I've talked about that in one of my previous books. The education system is probably 20 years behind where it needs to be. The conspiracy against our money. Now, I've talked about that as well. The bank never goes broke. Understand the game is rigged. The bank never goes broke. It's monopoly at a global scale. So you need to understand the game is rigged. I make no secret of that. You've just got to understand how it's rigged, and these books tell you that, and they tell you how to make use of that rigging. So this is a lawful thing that is done that you can make use of. It's a bit of a learning curve. It's not a huge learning curve, but it is a learning curve. And what I see time and time again is people with a house or two, or they got a small business, and I start talking, and they look at me like, what do I know? Well, I know a lot about this stuff, so I can gauge people's level of knowledge by the words and the actions, their attitudes, what comes out of them. There's a certain vocabulary I use. Now, I won't be using it in these videos most of the time because I'm trying to keep it very simple, but the vocabulary and attitudes of people that I hear, even written on Facebook, I can sort of tell where someone is, generally speaking, by their attitudes on Facebook or YouTube comments, stuff like that. So we'll go into a few more of these comments. So the conspiracy against our wealth. Now that's a central banking type thing. The conspiracy against our financial intelligence. Now there is no course at school on finance. There are courses on school in finance, but they are shithouse, okay? So financial education, which is the term that comes from these books. So when I say financial education is not in the Oxford Dictionary, it is in there, but it is not. This is the correct definition of financial education, okay? So where we are today, I can't remember what that chapter's about. What is the name of your game? Now I'm going to say, for instance, a while since I've read this book, I'm going to say that that's going to be playing to your strengths. Print your own money. So that is a thing that you always hear people say, oh, the Reserve Bank's printing all this money, the stimulus, the deficit spending, all that sort of stuff. Well, what happened when, say, for instance, in my country, they allowed people to withdraw as a couple $40,000 in super. Then they gave them a first home buyer grant, which was probably, it wasn't useful to me, so I don't know the number. Say it was 15 grand. Then they gave them a $25,000 home buyer's grant. So if you said they had access to $80,000 that they didn't previously have access to, now you think, well, that money's been created from nothing, and it has. It's literally an entry on a ledger. But anyone who jumps on those schemes quickly is going to make bank, okay? So then you're making money from nothing, essentially. So the money came from nothing, you used the nothing, you made actual money that you can draw equity, spend on, pay other debts down, refinance card, all sorts of things you can do. But with these grants and with this stimulus and all these sorts of things, You have to know when to jump in on these things. When the government comes out and they give you some stupid solar credit scheme for 50 something cents a kilowatt hour, which now it's back to like 15 or 18 or whatever it is where you are. If you get on those schemes early, you do really well. Those people do really well and they stay locked in. Like people were getting, income back on really small solar systems. Now your smaller systems like a 6.5 kilowatt system. Back when it started, it was like a 1.5, 2 kilowatts maybe, and that would have paid all your power bills because of the rebates. And then they had to drop the rebates because all the other people without solar ended up paying for the people that had solar panels. That's how it worked. Totally fucked up the electricity grid. So that is a way of printing your own money. So money from nothing is another concept that is covered in these books. And you can create money from nothing or very little effort. Just by signing some documents, you can actually write checks, loans for money that you don't physically have in cash. Okay, money from nothing is a real thing. So you have to understand that. Print your own money, kind of went over that. Building for the future, financial education and unfair advantage. So this is what I'm talking about. This right here, financial education. Where is it? Financial education and unfair advantage. So he actually has an entirely different book, Unfair Advantage. That's the title of the book. Now, a lot of that will be covered off in this. I actually haven't read Unfair Advantage, but if you want to read that book, you can. I'm going to say this is a better book, but having the basis of financial education, using this guy, which is more millionaires have been created out of this guy than just about anyone. And you hear people, uninformed people. I bring this author up with people, and people say to me, "Oh, he writes books." Well, no, yes, he does write books. This is a business. This is passive income for him right now. I'm sitting here advertising this book for free. I'm going to put a link to it in my video. I'm going to get affiliate marketing. I'm going to be selling his books. I'm going to be getting commission from the sale of his books from my YouTube video. He's sitting back, kicking up on a beach somewhere, getting his $5 per book, and there are maybe 500,000 people out there like me doing the exact same thing. So this is a true passive income business. So while this guy, yes, one of the things he does is he writes books, he also invented the Velcro wallet, what they were called the Rippers. Remember the Velcro wallet in the 80s? That was a failed business of his. So he not only talks about business successes, but business failures. And the Velcro wallet was a failure of his, and he goes into why it failed, bad business decisions, bad people he dealt with, trademark, patents, that sort of thing. But he actually invented that. That was his thing. And then he started getting into real estate. He's quite a big, very, very big real estate mogul. Most of his game is in real estate and commodities. He does stocks and crypto as well, but most of it is real estate, commodities. Okay. Now, he talks about if I ran the school system, so what he would do. I'd have plenty to say about that. In conclusion, afterwards. So that's basically the book. So this is the #2 financial book to get your shit sorted. If you're sitting at home and you've got your last, I'm going to say $100 in the bank. Say you've got $100 in the bank, you've got $15,000 in credit card debt that you can't pay. You have a car loan that's about to be repossessed. You potentially are about to get evicted. I'm talking the work, maybe you just got out of jail. I'm talking the worst possible financial position you could possibly be in. Buy this book, and buy this book, and then drink a glass of water, go to the toilet, do it. Make this book more important than drinking a glass of water. That's how important this book is, and this book is. If you read these two books, you'll be smarter than 90 plus, 92, 94% of people on the planet, financially speaking. But people don't want to spend the time to read the books. They're like kids' books. Look at the size of the text. It's not. These are not hard books to read. These are not. There's lots of pictures in them. They're fun. There's where's the picture? Okay, this one actually probably doesn't have any picture there. Okay, so I'm going to show some graphs and things like that. There is a page before this I can show you, but it's going to give the game away for something that's very important that you need to understand the concept of. So anyway, again, we're up to 14 minutes. I'm trying to keep these videos for 10 minutes because honestly, videos on YouTube that go over 10 minutes, they tend to fucking shit me because I realise that people have their own lives to live, they have kids to feed, they have jobs to go, they have all these things they got to do, and it's a bit, I find it a bit annoying when videos go 20 minutes long. So I am trying to shrink that down to a 10-minute video and just do 10-minute videos. That's what I'm trying to do. Now I've got, it seems to be about 20. So yeah, if you read that book, read Conspiracy of the Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Conspiracy of the Rich. The other two books I put up are more about changing your attitude, changing your mindset. These books will do that as well to a large degree. So the basis, I'm going on about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. People don't understand maybe even what this is. So this is a this is like a wordplay on a scenario this guy lived where he had two dads. Now one of them was a rich dad and one of them was a poor dad. Now the poor dad was a school teacher. The rich dad was a business person, and basically it goes over the mindsets and attitudes of these two different people, how they have very two entirely different ways of thinking, and how the rich dad was the one that taught him how to basically create an infinite money tree. So, I mean, yeah, kick around with school teachers all you like, but you're going to end up being the poor dad, okay? At the end of the day, long story short, you know this stuff, you're going to kill it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Cheers. I'm drinking these great Northerns at the moment because I loaned some trestles to a guy locally. I have some trestle here, and I just gave them to him because I wasn't using them, and he's dropped me back a carton of Great Northern, so I'm drinking them for a bit. I usually drink bourbon, but I'm drinking beer at the moment just because it's free. But anyway, thanks for watching again. I'm getting some really good feedback on these videos. I'm quite surprised because my other channel took a long time to get going. So I'm actually getting some pretty good traction, even though the numbers are low. I can sort of calculate the growth based on these low numbers already. So I'm going to keep doing these videos. I'm going to try to do them daily by, every 2 days, 3 days, something happens, RBA announcement, that sort of thing. Any changes in loans, real estate, I'm going to try and give you updates on that from my point of view going forward. My next video, might not be the next one, might be the one after. I'm going to do a video on the 5 C's of credit. That is getting a mortgage and the 5 C's of credit, and why no one understands it, no one even knows what it is. And I'm going to tell you what it is. I'm going to give you secrets to going and getting a mortgage that literally no one fucking knows. It isn't even covered off in these books. Okay, so this again, more specialist knowledge. Might not be the next video, might be the one after, might be the one after, but hang out for that video and I will discuss that with you, and I will give you a fighting chance. If you're borderline not quite getting a loan, I will give you a fighting chance of getting that loan by understanding the 5 C's of credit. That's all that is. I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, and